This meeting is being recorded.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our Auntie webinar about knowing yourself at work. Before we let our professional Pascal Couteau get the stage with this important topic, I want to remind whoever might be online who doesn't know Auntie, that Auntie is a service that offers psychological support to tackle and solve everyday issues before they become too big. And we do this by offering Auntie packages which are tailored to specific situations and instances. One of the latest packages that we actually have is called Building Me, which is a package to support you if you want to take more out of your life or get more productive or have a goal in mind that you want to go towards. And as we are also spending Mental Health Awareness Month, so we are on a relevant topic with this work-related knowing yourself at work. So without further ado, I want to give the stage to our expert of the matter today, Pascal Couteau. So please take it away. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here today. I'll start with sharing my screen and showing you my presentation. There we go. Of course, I need to move the toolbar there and view. Why isn't it working today? There we go. All right, so knowing yourself at work, an important topic. At Auntie, we believe that a healthy company is a company that has healthy employees. And we think that well-being, with so many hours that we spend at work, well-being also starts with knowing yourself at work. And we'll see today what knowing yourself at work means. My name is Pascal Couteau, and I'm an Auntie professional. I've been working for Auntie since fall 2020. I'm a Gestalt therapist, and I have a focus on giftedness in my practice. And also, I live in Norway, in the little town of Arendal, and I was a teacher before I was a therapist. And I'm the mom of a 15-year-old. And also, I'm not Norwegian, I'm originally French, but I've been living in Norway for 25 years, so I'm kind of half Norwegian now. So today's program is, we're going to start by the topic of knowing who you are. And that is because knowing yourself at work starts with knowing who you are and how your brain functions and how you function. Because when you know how you function, then it's easier for you to know what's best for you at work, and also which relationships are best for you at work, and how your relationships maybe are working or not working for you. And also we're going to, afterwards, go forward to knowing your values, which is also an important topic in knowing who you are at work. We'll see how your values affect you and how important, what kind of important role they play for you in knowing yourself in your workplace as an employee. And lastly, we'll see how knowing both who you are and your values help you know your direction, in which direction you want to go with your job, and why that is important for your working life. So there we go. First part, knowing who you are. So as I said just now, an important part of knowing who you are at work is knowing yourself at all, knowing who you are and how you function, and what is good for you and less good for you, what your needs are in order to meet them. And in this chapter, we're going to talk mainly about two topics. The one is sensitivity, and the other one is introversion, extroversion. So we start with sensitivity, and the reason why I wanted to take up this subject is because we live in a world where most of the population, as you see on the slide now, 69% of the population is normally sensitive or low sensitive. And for the people who are highly sensitive, which are about 31% of the population, This can be difficult because they often feel unconsciously that they need to adapt to a world where their sensitivity is not taken into account. And very often that can create conflicts inside them, and that can end up in the end with creating somatic problems or even psychological problems. So I want to invite you right now to reflect on your sensitivity and maybe ask yourself, am I highly sensitive or not? Maybe if you're highly sensitive, you already know it. Maybe if you are, you don't know it. And maybe you know that you're just normally sensitive, like most of the population, and then there's no question about that. But also knowing about sensitivity can help you be more supportive of your colleagues that are highly sensitive, because very often the highly sensitive will need more rest time also during the course of the day at work. They will need maybe to protect themselves from a lot of stimuli that most normally sensitive people don't need to protect themselves from. And they will also be more sensitive emotionally. So in their relationships, the highly sensitive will have other needs than the normally sensitive don't have. So knowing whether you yourself are highly sensitive or not, or whether some of your colleagues are highly sensitive or not, might be a good thing for you and how you interact in your working space, generally speaking. There's also the question of introversion versus extroversion. That's also an important topic, if you ask me, because very often, very often, we live in a world of extroverts. That's important to say it. At least in our Western world, most of the people are acting as extroverts, and it's expected that we act as extroverts. So if you're an introvert, you can find that very tiresome and difficult at times, because your nature is not to be turned outwards or to spend a lot of time with others. And you might find that during the course of the day, it's difficult for you to have enough time on your own and enough time to turn inwards. And that's an important point to take into account as far as your workplace is concerned, because knowing yourself at work is implying that you know what's good for you at work, and also that you do what you need to take care of yourself at the working place. So if you're an introvert, it's likely that you will want a job where you spend maybe less time with people and where you spend more time with yourself, but also that you will need a job where you can maybe have some time to rest more and to be more in silence, for example. Whether if you're an extrovert, it might be important for you to have a job where you talk to people a lot, to have also a working place where there is a lot of activity going around you, a lot of people walking around. So that's important to take into account. So take a couple of seconds now, a couple of minutes to reflect. Are you highly sensitive, or are you introvert or extrovert? I haven't told you exactly what highly sensitive means. The highly sensitive people are usually very sensitive to sensory stimuli. So they are usually more sensitive to light, to sound, to smells, for example, to textures. And they're also usually more intense emotionally. So they will feel things very deeply. It can feel for them like they're a bit thin-skinned sometimes. And that they have a hard time putting up with other people's emotions, for example. The highly sensitive people can also feel very easily the atmosphere in a room or the mood in a room, for example. So, well, maybe you are interested right now when I speak about that, about finding more about these topics. And you can, of course, go online and check it out and see if this speaks to you or not. If you know if you're introvert or extrovert or highly sensitive or not, you can also think about how this affects you at work. So how do you thrive in your work environment is a very important question. And whether you're highly sensitive or not, you can think about the lighting in your office, for example, the noise level, and also the level of activity around you, as I said. How is it affecting you? Are you the kind of person who works best in an open office with a lot of people around you, a lot of movement? Or are you the kind of person who works best in a closed office on your own without anybody moving around and without any disturbance? And also, how is what you see around affecting you, you know? If you're highly sensitive or neurodivergent, it means that you have maybe ADHD or autism or other kinds of, you know, dyslexia. An important question for you to ask yourself is, do you adapt your work environment to your special needs? And if yes, how? And is it enough for you? But also, sometimes we don't adapt our work environment to our special needs, but we adapt ourselves to the work environment. And that can be to the detriment of our well-being after a certain amount of time. And that can lead to emotional burnout in the end. So think about that. If you have some specificities in your personality, if your brain is built differently than the average person, then how do you pay attention to it? How do you take care of yourself in order to not adapt too much and use all your energy in adapting, but in order also to adapt your work environment to what you need? Then there is the question of how often and when do you reload? We often have an idea that the working day is not supposed to be a moment when we spend some time resting. But actually, I do think that it's important that we have some small moments during the working day when we rest the way we need to rest. And resting can be having a coffee break, for example, or having a chat with colleagues, if that's what you need to debrief on something. For some people, it can be spending some time playing on their telephone or on the computer, 5 minutes, 10 minutes in between meetings. And also some people will maybe need a power nap because they are more easily tired in their body, and not just the mind needs to relax, but the body as well. So how do you allow yourself to relax at work? And do you allow yourself to relax at work? That's also a good question. And also you might want to ask yourself how your work is allowing you to have some time to relax and to reload during your working day. Good restitution skills require that you're connected to your needs. So do you know what you need right this minute, for instance? If you spend some time right now connecting to your body, feeling your feet, your shoulders, your back, what's happening in your body right now? What kind of bodily sensations can you feel? And what is that telling you about what you need right now? So asking yourself this question often enough during your working day is also allowing you to know yourself better at work and to adjust your working day according to your needs. It's also important to know that people who are neurodivergent or highly sensitive will have higher need for restitution during the course of the day than average persons. What does a perfect day at work look like for you? You know, if you should write down the perfect timetable for your perfect working day, how would it look like? And then you can compare with how your working day looks like at present. And then, okay, see what kind of changes can you implement to maybe bring the two closer to one another. It doesn't have to be big steps. It can start with small steps. Knowing your values is also an important part of knowing who you are at work. We're going to see now the importance of values, and we're going to see how aligning with our values also has an importance, that also is meaningful as far as work is concerned, and how values help us set boundaries. So a value is a principle or a standard of behavior, and it's also your own judgment of what is important in life. Values are like you have on the list below. It can be generosity, courage, integrity, selflessness, determination. There is actually dozens and dozens of values that we can recognize ourselves into. So knowing your values is not necessarily an easy job to do. So your values help you to find your place in your life with friends and family and work. So knowing your values is what is going to help you choose your friends or help you choose your work. We can't really choose our family, but sometimes we can choose to not have contact with our family because their values are too different from ours. or we also see that we get along with our family because we share the same values. Your values also help you to set boundaries for what's okay and not okay for you. They give you the framework of what's acceptable and not acceptable for you. And also they help you to find your purpose in life by giving you a direction. So what are your core values? Can you write down at least 5? I can go back to the list that I showed you earlier. Maybe you can find, maybe not 5, but 2, 3 in this list. If you should choose some values from this list, which ones would you choose that correspond to what's important for you and what's giving you a direction in your life or a framework? What are the values of your company? Have you asked yourself that question? Do you know them? And do they match yours? To which degree? The chance is that if most of your values match those of the company, then you feel like you belong there and you feel really at place where you're working. And sometimes the company that you work for advertises for certain values, but doesn't act according to them. And that can create conflict. That can create an inner conflict inside you. And that can also create interpersonal conflict in the way that you get in conflict with the leadership, for example, or your managers or your colleagues, for example. So knowing the values of your company is actually important as far as knowing yourself at work is concerned, because it will help you determine if you're really in a working place where you thrive or not. And the thriving is not going to be based on how your office looks like, or if your needs, your physical needs are met or your material needs are met. But these, the values, the matching of your values and the company values will help you find out if you and the company are a good match on the long term. And that's an important thing to do, because if you do, then the company is feeling better and you will feel better as well. So your values are also helping you to set boundaries because they point towards acceptable or not acceptable behavior for us. You know, for example, if family is one of your core values, then it will be important for you to make sure that your work time is specifically during the work time, and that you don't take work over at home, for example, during the weekends or during the evening, so that you can have the family time that is important for you. So if you happen to work in a workplace where you are asked to work extra time, to work in the weekends, to answer emails in the evenings, for example, and family is one of your core values, it's very likely that at some point there will be a conflict between maybe inside you or also maybe outside you, between you and your manager, because your values don't align with the values of work. You want to spend to keep things compartmented and to have work at work and family at home, and the working place is expecting something else from you. So being aware of that will help you set boundaries and decide what's important for you and if you can go along with it or not. And lastly, knowing yourself at work also implies that you know your direction, you know where you go as far as work is concerned. Whether you have ambition or not is not really relevant here, but what's relevant is meaning and motivation. So for most people, for every human being, it's important. Meaning is important. We are, as human beings, looking every day to make meaning and to give meaning to our life. That's what helps us make sense of our life. And that's what helps us to not despair totally existentially. When you don't find meaning in your everyday life, then it's difficult to see the purpose of life, and it's difficult to really feel balanced in life. And meaning affects our health and well-being so much so that Irvin Yalom, who's an American psychiatrist, has said that to live without meaning, goal, or values provokes considerable distress. It usually creates a high sense of anxiety in people. Meaning also helps us give a direction to our life according to what is meaningful for us. So will we choose that kind of job or another kind of job? At least for some people. Some people have a very strong sense that their job needs to be connected to their sense of meaning, whereas for other people, it's not that important. So finding meaning of life, finding meaning in life and also finding meaning in job can help us know where we go and have the motivation to get there. So according to how meaningful your job needs to be for you, you will be motivated to find the right type of job for you, to find the job that really animates you, that really makes your flame burn, if I can say it this way. So what makes your work meaningful? Knowing what makes your work meaningful is what's going to help you to find your motivation to do the work. So the meaning in the job is what is going to help you find the strength, the courage, the interest to show up at work every day, to do the tasks that you're assigned to do, and to maybe be creative as well at work. And if your work is in alignment with your values, then you're probably finding your work meaningful. If your work is not in alignment with your values, then that creates conflict in you, and probably it's not very good to be at work. So knowing your values is helping you feel at your place at work. And when you feel at your place at work, then the company is thriving as well. So your thriving is really important for the company's thriving as well. How meaningful is your job for you right now? If you ask yourself on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being not meaningful and 10 being the most meaningful it can be. If you're totally truthful with yourself, what would you answer? And when you've got your answer, think about which parts of your job do you find meaningful? Which tasks or which activities at work are meaningful for you? Is it the contact with other people? Is it the tasks that you're doing, certain tasks, not others? And also notice which parts of your job make less sense. Which ones do you find more difficult to do, to focus on? Where do you lose motivation in a way? And here we come to the 3 types of motivation. The first type is extrinsic motivation. That's the motivation that comes from outside. So it's doing something for a reward, like because you get a salary every month, or because you can have food on the table, or because you get an award, acknowledgements, positive feedback. That's extrinsic motivation. You do the job because you're getting something out of it. That can be a material thing, or that can be acknowledgement. But also extrinsic motivation can be related to doing something for fear of a punishment, so to avoid consequences. So if in your company you're afraid of your colleagues' reactions, or of your manager's reactions, or also at home for that matter, if you're afraid of your partner leaving you, and when you do things because you're afraid of this, then this is an extrinsic motivation to do things. And the extrinsic motivation is it's the lighter type of all the motivations. It's maybe the most difficult motivation to sustain, because it's coming from outside of us. It doesn't come from inside of you. Then there's the intrinsic motivation, which is a bit more sustainable. And it's when you do something for your own satisfaction, out of enjoyment, really, because you burn for it, because it's challenging you, it's helping your self-development, because you're curious, you're interested. So it's coming from inside of you, it's coming kind of from your soul in a way, or from the bottom of your heart. And then there is the last kind of motivation, which is the pro-social motivation. And it's when you're doing something out of the need to help others, to contribute to the bigger picture, to somehow make a difference in the world. And that can be on a local level, but it can also be on a bigger level. So what happens for most of us is that we conjugate the different types of motivation. So usually and especially when we're in a working place where we thrive, we usually find that the 3 types of motivation are in us, that we both work because of the extrinsic motivation, the intrinsic motivation, and also the pro-social motivation. It doesn't have to be, but sometimes we usually have a little bit of the 3, and sometimes just the first 2, extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. So a little recap. When you're in alignment with yourself, that is when you know and respect your core values. And when you know and respect who you are and how you function, what's important for you, both physically and also mentally. And when you know what gives meaning to your life, then it's easier for you to find your place at work and to find the right work for you as well. You know, so knowing yourself at work for me is about knowing, first of all, if you're in the right place for you. And if you are, then why is it the right place for you? What is it with this work and with you that is making it the right place for you? Is it because you share the same values? Most probably. Is it because the job is giving meaning to your life? Most probably it is. And most probably also it is because you are in a working place that is adapted to you and your needs, both physically and also psychologically. If you're feeling that you're not in the right place, then most probably it is because either you're not respecting your values, or you're not respecting the way you function, or maybe you don't find enough meaning at your workplace or with the work that you're doing. So knowing yourself is about being more aware of who you are and who you want to be at work in order to find the right working place for you, because this is going to make your life easier, and this is going also to make the life of the company better for everybody. Well, I guess that was it for me today. So here are some references if you are interested in checking things out after this webinar. And I thank you all, and hand back the mic to you, Mikael.
Thank you, Pascal. Truly important topic. I have actually one question for you, and here in the end. So could you give any tips on or tricks on how to find your core values?
That's a very good question. Well, I would say that if you're interested in working on your core values, then try to find a list of the values. That's a good way to start. And as I said before, there are really dozens and dozens of values, so it can be a little bit frightening at first to choose 5 of them. So what I advise you to do is to maybe make a list of 10, 15, 20 values that really resonate with you. And then you can see if you can try to really narrow from there. If you should choose only 5 that are really the most important values in your everyday life, the ones that you can't that you can't navigate in your life without, then that's a good indication of what your core values are. But it's really, I mean, really we are navigating with way more than just 5 core values according to the settings. So it's important to realize that, okay, those are maybe the 5 most important, but it doesn't have to be that we don't have any other values. And also, I'd like to say that our values may change with time and with our self-development and with us growing up as well and going on in life. So it doesn't have to be that I have the same values now that I had before.
That's actually a really important point to remember also, that they are not set in stone. So as we progress through life, they can change.
Yes.
But hey, I think with that, we've come to the end of this webinar. I hope everyone who was listening has enjoyed this one, and we will see you again with the next Auntie webinar in November. So thank you, Pascal, and have a great day, all of you on the other side of the screen as well.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.